The Nerve, as John said, is an online news site, product of the South Carolina Policy Council. And the Policy Council is a nonprofit, free market think tank. Principles it stands for: smaller government, free markets, and individual liberty. Our president of the Policy Council, Ashley Landis, decided several years ago, this is her brainchild, to start an online news site, investigative news site, which he titled The Nerve. And she stole me away from the State and Eric Ward away from the Free Times. Eric was a long-time news editor there, and he's now the editor of The Nerve. So we launched in January 2010, the week legislative session started, and we launched with a week-long series on the Boeing incentives deal. Eric and I spent a couple months researching what the cost of that package would be to taxpayers. We spent a lot of time going through a lot of dusty old documents. We spent time hanging out with Boeing workers in bars and other places to try to learn what was going on. And the result of that was our week-long series, which the Post and Courier decided to duplicate that that week after they saw what we were doing. We focus at The Nerve, I guess our slogan is, our motto, our mantra, our mission is, where government gets exposed. We care about showing where government wasting taxpayer dollars, abuse of power, conflict of interest, things along those lines. Anything that will hurt taxpayers, we want to know about and we want to write about. Like I said, we focus heavily on economic incentives, what it costs taxpayers. The Boeing project, for example, we conservatively estimated at least $500 million will cost taxpayers from state and local incentives over at least 15 years. And it's not just the cost of incentives that we look at, it's also kind of the lack of transparency. It's a big issue we write about at The Nerve. One of the things that we have found is that government officials are very, very secretive about these deals that they're making with major corporations. Boeing was, prime example number one. On October 28th, 2009, the legislature met in a rare special session. They normally don't meet in the fall, but they met on this special session, and what they did was they took an unrelated bill, gutted it, and came up with the Boeing incentives package. And in that legislation alone was a proposal that would sell $170 million in general obligation bonds, which taxpayers are on the hook for, plus a whole bunch of other sales tax exemptions and other credits for them. So that was kind of the start. And despite what we've been writing about, lawmakers apparently haven't learned their lesson, because fast forward to just this past June 7th, the legislature on the last day of regular session crammed through in a matter of 3 hours, a special tax credit package for the 3 large tire manufacturers in this state: Continental, Bridgestone, Michelin. It was a special tax credit for machinery purchases, and just for Continental alone, that deal will cost taxpayers at least $110 million over 10 years. And that's a big deal, because I think taxpayers at the very least should know what they're getting in terms of return on investment. What we try to do, stories that you will not normally see in the mainstream media, and we take a lot of pride in that. We want you to link on, it's thenerve.org, by the way, if you want to link on to it. And we try to do stories that mainstream are not touching at all, or maybe they're just barely addressing, and we think that there needs to be more light shined on that particular subject.